me to become better. And so it becomes more complex, it becomes more cognitive, and the one little repetitive monotone activity like running, you just don't realize it anymore. Okay, yeah. So it's always a journey. So if it would be about, okay, you should put data into something and you don't like it, I would try to design a journey where the focus of these guys is on the bigger picture. So, and putting the data into the system is just part of my personal progress to the bigger picture. Right. And suddenly it becomes your tool. It's not an awful or whatever, tedious activity. It's
not a responsibility anymore,
to become better. And so, and I didn't change the job actually, but I helped to change the perspective of the user himself and make it bigger. So I expanded it. And so now suddenly it can work.
Fantastic. At this point, I want to ask the audience to type into the chat what your favorite gamified app is, because I, for one, I'm interested to know what that is. I'm sure Roman would enjoy looking at a few apps. So feel free to do that while we continue talking. So coming to gamified apps, Roman, do you use gamified apps? And if you do, what's your favorite one and why?
No, we only build, we only build individual solutions.
Do you personally use, I mean, do you use?
Personally?
Yeah.
So let's say it this way, I don't know. So I'm not using what I'm using, for example, are apps like Runtastic, okay, where everyone says, hey, they are using gamification. I think it's right, they're using gamification. The point is, it's not gamification because they're using points or badges or whatever, or leaderboards, because from my point of view, that's not gamification. But what they really do is, or what they help me to understand what different kind of categories and skills I can become better at. And then they help me to realize progress. They help me to realize failure, but help me then to understand how to overcome the failure. So that's also learning progress. And I think they are pretty good in doing that kind of stuff, for example. Yeah.
Any other names come to mind? What do you think of Google Pay's effort at scratch cards? And I don't know what else they do in Germany, but in India, they created a sensation during one of our festivals, Diwali. You might have heard of it. The festival where we light oil lamps, and it's very pretty. And so they asked people to collect those oil lamps, virtual oil lamps. Every time you make a payment, you get one of those, but it could be a repetitive one. So you have to complete a set of, I think, 6 or 8 of them. And it became crazy because people were communicating with each other. Hey, I have all these extra lamps. Can you take one of these and give me what I need? And it became a huge hit. So what do you think of, or can you give some other examples, or feel free to answer this?
Sure. So first of all, of course, collecting. And the point is, how difficult is it to collect the kind of stuff? Yeah? So one could be, so I think if it's easy to get all the lamps in your example, it's just a reward program. If you make it challenging, if there's scarcity, if you have to perhaps even to create a skill to argue with others and whatever, then it's already tapping into gamification from my point of view. Okay, it's using that, and you are more proud about the progress that you made in order to be able to get the card instead of the actual card itself. And so that's totally fine. It's a good point actually. So here in Germany, I mean, we could also say that a huge problem also from my point of view for the gamification industry is that in media, most reward programs are being called gamification. Yeah. And so the problem is that most reward programs are, you're getting a stamp for every coffee you bought, or Starbucks stars or whatever. The point is, the only effort you have to do is to spend money. So that has nothing to do with the game-like experiences that we have in games. And so that's a huge problem. And also, for example, the Monopoly, the famous Monopoly game from McDonald's.
Yeah,
I think it's famous worldwide, right? And again, it's more like entertainment, for example, instead of trying to involve you or to trying to create a journey that unfolds over time in front of you by being a McDonald's customer. Yeah, that would be gamification. Like a game story unfolds in front of you over time, depending on your decisions. And so that's I'm doing some gamification, and I'm doing some gamification probably that every one of you is also doing. I love these kind of examples because it shows from me the smartness of nature. I don't know. For example, can you remember the last time when you, let's say, you walked home from work, or you're going on a walk with your family or whatever? I don't know. And you're being bored, or you're talking to someone on the phone, yeah, and while you're talking, you have to wait. So you're being bored a little bit. You say, yeah. And then you realize that suddenly you stop trying to step on the cracks on the ground.
Yeah.
So if you have so stones, and then you try only to step on the stone and not on the crack, yeah. Or if you are waiting on a traffic light and you're trying to do a countdown from 10 to 0, and when you say 0, you hope that, okay, green, yeah, it's going for red. So exactly. So these kind of mechanisms, and I'm now that I'm doing that a lot. Okay, suddenly try to. So I'm on a bicycle, and suddenly I'm trying to avoid something on the ground or whatever it is. So I'm starting to drive slalom. The point is, it's an amazing mechanism of nature from my point of view, that nature realizes, and with nature I mean the brain in this case, it realizes that, okay, this activity, it's so boring, it's not actually worth my time. I'm not using my capacity, I'm not learning, I'm not increasing the probability to survive. Okay, it's still the evolution thinking. So by starting to play this little game of, okay, now I'm not stepping on the cracks anymore, on the ground anymore, you are using 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but something around bits per second more in your brain. And so it has at least a little bit more bits. And so it tries to challenge itself, because by nature, it's a good thing to do. And so, and this is where the intrinsic motivation comes. It's built in to us, to be challenged. And this is something that I realize sometimes it's really, I'm doing that without realizing that. But, or if you, for example, traveling by car with your kids behind you, and and then suddenly, your son or your daughter starts to go with a finger. So this on the window, and then I ask them, what are you doing? And then, oh, there's my little figure, and she's jumping above the buildings outside or whatever. Because it's just boring sitting in the car. And so she develops its own little game to avoid the buildings and to jump over it or whatever. This is gamification built into our culture.
It reminds me that sometimes, even now, I use that idea to, if I have to dispose of a piece of paper, I don't want to walk up to the dustbin and put it in the hand. I would rather crumple it and try to, dunk it from here.
Exactly. Yeah, we need that kind of stuff. The problem is we are on our way, and we're doing that already since the industrial century, from my point of view. But we keep doing to design jobs that are more boring than they need to be. And because of that, we are much more looking for these kind of, let's say, distractions or activities that we think, okay, it challenges us a little bit more. So looking for efficiency in our workplace is the best way to design intrinsic motivation out of the system.
Got it. Which essentially, I think the whole force of your logic is find ways to involve the person. Don't keep them out of the activity. Use their involvement to make it fun for them, right?
Yeah. And the point is, and this is, but it's also about our mindset about the image of man. Okay. The point is that we believe, and I think that's the problem. We believe people want to have it easy, fast, and want to be rewarded. And because we believe that's the case, we're designing jobs around this kind of belief. But now, if you really observe humankind, everywhere on earth, no matter if a man, a woman, no matter what kind of culture, what kind of age, whatever, if they are really allowed to do what they want to do, they are not doing something that's easy to do, that's fast, and that's being rewarded. They are playing games. Playing games means, hey, congrats, the next level is harder than the one before because you progressed. Yeah, we are our own hobby. I mean, if you're collecting stamps, if you're building airplane models, whatever, you're always trying to become better. So we are challenging ourselves. And I think that's really the important part. As you said, creating a human-centered design, from my point of view, does mean I help you to achieve or to reach the end as fast as possible. Because this is not what I'm looking for. I want to be involved in an activity that is worth my time, that needs my skills. Yeah. And so if something is easy to do and fast over, probably it's not my time, not worth my time the next time. So I'm looking for something else.